Welcome to the Kee To Growth Podcast, Home Services Marketing Unlocked, with me, your host, Jen McKee. Every week, I sit down with top marketers in the trades, from the brains behind $100 million companies to those scaling from 1 to 3, even to 10 million, breaking down exactly how they got where they are and uncover the secret to their success. If you're ready to grow your business and get real, actionable insights, you're in the right place. Let's unlock the key to your marketing success, starting now.
Key Marketing specializes in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube to build your brand awareness or drive leads using social media ads. If you're ready to elevate your social media, go to keyheartmarketing.com or follow us on social media. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Kee To Growth Podcast. I am your host, Jen McKee, and I am super excited about our guest today. Today, I have a contractor who, together with her husband, has built a really awesome AC company out in Colorado, and she's going to share with us the good, the bad, the ugly, all the things. I am super excited to have Samantha Houchin here with me today from The Weather Changers. Samantha, if people don't know who you are, please introduce yourself.
Well, I am Samantha Houchin. I am the co-owner of The Weather Changers. We are in Denver, Colorado. I handle all the operations in the company, and then my husband manages all the field. So yeah.
So were you a part of The Weather Changers from the beginning, or did you hop in later?
Nope. Yeah, I was, Chris and I started it in our dining room while I was pregnant with our 16-year-old. So yeah, I've been in every step of the way.
Nice. So what was that like at the beginning? Whose idea was this? And then, tell us a little bit about that. How you guys started off.
Yeah. So it was Chris's dream. He'd always kind of had an idea or a vision of wanting to start his own company. He kind of fell into heating and air conditioning, really liked it. And then I was in a construction background working for a framing and foundation company. And then the bubble burst in 2008 and that company unfortunately closed, and went from the best job I'd ever had to the worst job I'd ever had. And then Chris had moved to Colorado from California, and was kind of the first man in, last man out when it's 2009 when we started, and they laid him off. And so he called and was like, "What do you think about starting a company?" And I was like, "Let's go." We wanted to build our own thing. We also were like, "Oh, think of the independence and the flexible schedule and how easy it's going to be." And now 16 years later, it's wait, we have it to some degree, but I do think it was a little bit of a pipe dream of oh, we'll just be able to make our own schedule. We do, but it's not maybe the schedule we thought it was going to be. So yeah.
Okay. So you guys started the company and you had to get customers. Where did your first customers come from?
Word of mouth. Luckily, we just started walking our neighborhood and I guess it was flyers. So I just literally walked my neighborhood with my son in a stroller and tapes, homemade things that I printed on our little printer at home. And a neighbor called and we installed his system. And then he told another neighbor and another neighbor. And so it really started like that, genuinely. And then we learned our lesson we tried a ton of advertising things at first, and it was I guarantee you first page on Google. And we were like, "Oh, that sounds amazing. Here's our money." And then it never worked. And so we realized that in marketing, there's no guarantee. If a company's guaranteeing you something, you have to literally walk the other way. And I think most of the stuff that we learned is just by trial and error.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about that because, the people who listen to the Kee To Growth podcast, they're at all stages in their business. But I think there's also, one of the things I always like to learn about is some of those first things that you did. And I love that there were mistakes there because we all choose different times to want to grow, no matter how big their business is. And I know I want to get into that with you later because I know you guys made some really intentional decisions to grow over the last few years. But at the beginning there, when you were okay, we've run out of these referral leads and we need some other way to get business. What are some of the specific marketing things that you tried?
What didn't we try? We tried the Valpak, the coupons that go in the mail. We tried different, we tried like at the beginning, like Facebook ads and stuff, and I didn't know what I was doing or the best way to optimize those. So they never really worked. We tried a couple different SEO companies until we found the right one. And then that I think was the biggest shift for us. It was just changing the mindset of not wanting to spend any money on marketing and advertising to realize how much money you have to spend on marketing and advertising to be found in a bigger pool than just referrals. We also started to work with like realtors and contractors, and that kind of helped at least on the referral piece, because it was like they would then kind of pass it along. But I think our biggest avenue was with Google, and then with the right SEO company.
I want to go back to the Valpak first. Do you think that because I don't know, but I don't want to say that everyone should completely write that off. But I'm curious if you think that there was maybe strategy that you didn't know, or I don't know, like why do you think that didn't work for you?
I don't think we had the money. I think when you're doing direct mail and stuff like that, I think you have to have a larger budget to be able to put behind it. We could only afford at the time, one area, and it was like one set of houses. And so we had to hope and pray that in this giant map of the Denver metro area, we had to hope and pray that this one tiny section was going to pay off. We got 2 customers from it.
Nice.
Honestly, they still call us, which is great, but that financially was so expensive for us at that time. We didn't really have the budget behind it to, I think, keep going. I would be curious to try. I'm also somebody that like, just because it didn't work once doesn't mean it's not going to work again, especially when you are bigger or you have a bigger budget or you can be a little bit more strategic with it. When we did Valpak, it was the first year and a half of our business.
Yeah.
And what I know then versus what I know now, it would have been a completely different strategy. So try things a bunch of times and I don't think you should, especially with marketing, I don't think you should ever write anything off as an absolutely not. I think you can write companies off and partners off, but I don't think you should ever write like a campaign or like any sort of marketing avenue off until you've really, I think, tried a couple times, because you don't know what's going to work.
I really kind of love that we dug into that, because you were like, no, Valpak sucks. But actually, we got 2 customers and they probably have like kind of a pretty good lifetime value at this point, where you likely did get a return on that.
Yeah.
But I think that you have a great point. Like it wasn't scalable for you at the time to like continue putting money into. But I do love that that's how that ended up for you. The other thing I wanted to touch on there is you said that you guys were getting referrals from other contractors and realtors. So I've suggested realtors to people in the past, and some people are very much like, no, I don't want to work with realtors. But I think realtors know a lot of people, and they also know people who need things done to their home. So I do feel like that could probably be is that somebody that you guys still prioritize relationships with?
Yeah, absolutely. Realtors, most of their business is word of mouth. Like, you can obviously put your name on a bus stop, or, realtors will put their name on and their picture on a lot of stuff, but it is really how they worked with customers. And then those homeowners, they move into a new house. They may need heating and air conditioning. They may need help. They may need service. We did a tune-up and cleaning for a buyer who just bought a house because the realtor, brought us in, or maybe it's a selling realtor that's selling their house, and we can help the buyer or the seller and then go to their next house. I believe wholeheartedly. Yeah, wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly is the word. I believe wholeheartedly
that my full heart.
The people that you make the connections with, they absolutely can pay off. And if they're in front of people, even if it's not maybe people you want, word of mouth is huge. Everybody needs heating and air conditioning. If you own a home or rent a home, you have heating and air conditioning in there. So I think realtors are in a great way. We still market to them. We just rolled out ReferPro, and most of our affiliate links that we have set up with ReferPro are realtors.
I love that. That's so great. Okay, well, I want to know a little bit more about ReferPro because I know that there and like maybe not just ReferPro, but I know that there are now these companies that can help you get referrals. So I love that you guys are using them. So what is that? Have you like built a strategy around it, or like how is that working for you so far?
Well, first, thank you for having them at the Grow
Oh,
Your
yay.
conference, because that's where
Yeah.
I met them. And it's just it comes out to, they did a whole campaign when we first started where it basically just touched our entire customer list, just saying like, hey, we have a referral program. If you have anybody, send it. And now every time a job is finished, they send like a text gets sent to a customer. I think it's like 3 days later. And then we rolled it out in May, and the response we've gotten from customers is crazy. And it's not only just like referrals, it's like getting in front of customers again. And they're like, well, we don't need it. We don't have anybody, but we need help. And so then that's turned into
Yeah.
a service call, and it's brought people back into the fold. And it's not very expensive. It uses your own customers to keep them stuck to you, which is really cool. You're not asking for anything, but like, hey, if you liked us, pass our name along. If you don't like it, you didn't like us, you don't have to. But we already had a referral program in-house that we managed, and it just was getting really hard to manage it just in-house. So having it be all digital, and like the rewards get sent automatically, and it talks to our CS, like we're on House Call Pro. So it talks to House Call Pro once the job is finished. It goes to there. The links get kind of sent out, and we have to manage it, but it's very, very minimal. And customers have really liked it. They like all of the options. It's been really cool. I'm really excited to
I
see, like,
love
even in
that.
6 months, how well it's doing. Cause like right now it's crazy how fast it worked for us.
Yeah, I'm curious just to like give people some context. Like, how many customers did you guys load into there? And do you have any idea like how many jobs you got from it so far, whether it was referrals or new activation or
So
reactivation?
our contact list that we had for like, cause it was all through like text messaging. I think
Yeah.
the initial number that we hit was 12,000. I'd have to look to see how many like initially, but I believe like the last time, like for the revenue that I looked at, which was a couple of weeks ago, we were at about $250,000 brought in from revenue
Nice. That's
from
awesome.
that only.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, once you get it up and running, I think there's a monthly fee for ReferPro, but
Yeah.
and then you're paying out the referrals, but it's probably a pretty low cost. And I was just at a marketing event where there was some statistics around this is perfect. Okay, so it was statistics around like what the return is for somebody who already knows you versus a Stranger Sam. I forget what they called the other one, like Loyal Linda or something, and Stranger Sam. And like, if all of us spent more time focused on customers that we've already worked with, not only are you spending less money from a marketing standpoint, they're also more likely to convert at a higher rate and likely to pay more than somebody who doesn't know you. And so that is such a perfect program to really capitalize on these people who already like, know, and trust you.
I agree. I mean, I think, even with like a maintenance program, right? It's like, if you have an HVAC company or even like a trades company, you should have a maintenance program. Well, the point of that is so that you can keep a customer stuck to you. So ReferPro just kind of makes sense in that same right. You've already met these customers. You've already bought they've already decided to spend money with you. And now they want to be like, oh, I liked working with you. I want my neighbor to work with you, my friend, my family, my whatever. And then I feel like it is less work and less money to get a referral in versus Google. And I think for me, we have a lot of our marketing budget in Google with CEO and Google ads. And it scares me a little bit because it's so uncontrollable. And in a second,
Right.
Google can change their algorithm, and they can change this and they can change that. And we felt it like last year, all of a sudden our service calendar kind of went a little empty in July, which is very unheard of. But
Crazy.
Google had changed some algorithm and it messed up our organic. And it was like, we kind of were like, starting over from not scratch, but it just messed it up enough that it then like petrified me of like, what happens if this happens again? And then that's our only like net out, right? It's the only net we've cast. It's all that's bringing it in. We're spending so much time and energy on it. How do we start spreading that out a little bit more? And if we could spend a little bit less in Google, but we bring in things like ReferPro, or we do like direct mail, and we do, or like YouTube TV, and we start casting more nets out there, then if one stops working or it doesn't have the return that it should, we have all this other stuff out there too. So we're not so like stranglehold by just one marketing line. And I feel like as a small business, I feel like you just get in the day to day and like the comfort of like, well, it works. Our phone rings because we spend this money in it. And then when it doesn't work, you feel it so fast. But if you have more consistency out there, you may not have to worry about, you know what I mean? Like it's not an all or nothing in one avenue.
Yeah, you don't want all your eggs in the Google basket, especially with like AI, everything's constantly changing. And when you're so dependent on Google, and all of this to say that you have to have a presence on Google. Like they have you by the chokehold. Like you are a home service company. You need to be your SEO, your Google business profile, you need reviews. All of these things need to be up to date. But you're right. Like when that is the only thing that you're relying on, what happens if your Google business profile gets restricted? What happens if all of a sudden a PE group comes in and buys 5 of the biggest companies around you, and now you're competing against their PPC budget?
Yeah.
Like if that is the only thing that you are dependent on, it's going to be easy to break you.
It is, and as you're also going to be spending a ton of money on stuff where if you took a little bit of that budget and put it elsewhere, you may get a better return from it. And it may be a little bit more of a consistent return as well. I do agree with you. There's no getting away from Google. It is a monopoly for a reason. It is what it is. But I can't compete with a PE company. I can't compete with a company in like Denver, especially Denver. We're a very saturated market. There is so many heating and air conditioning companies out here. And if they're not running a really strategic SEO or really Google ad campaign, and they're just throwing money at stuff, then it's going to make it harder for customers to find me because I don't have the same budget that they do. So how can you work smarter, not harder? And how can you partner with people that kind of understand the assignment that I'm not trying to replace Google. Google is truly irreplaceable, but I literally want to pull in other fish besides just what Google brings me. I want to try other things. I want to also be found where customers are finding us. Social was a big change for us. Like I've always posted on social, but it was really just kind of like, do it because you have to, not do it because you want to use it as a way to explain who you are. Like we're all on, most people are on Instagram. Most people are on social media platform of some kind. And even if they're not calling us directly, they're seeing our videos. They may recognize our stuff. We saw a huge shift in our social when we stopped using stock images and I started using like my team in everything. And people would comments would go up. Oh my God, that's Tyler. That's my tag. Blah, blah, blah. And so then we just really started to lean into that more about 2 years ago, where it was like we took all stock images out and we really tried to use our team whenever possible. Now we try to do more videos and bring brand awareness, but also it's been awesome for recruiting because people are like, oh, I saw your video. I saw you were hiring and I applied. So even if you don't think this could work for something, it's going to maybe work for something else. And I think that's really cool about all the different avenues and all the stuff that's available right now. You don't know what it's going to do, so try it.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great job on social. And you're really leaning into the fun culture stuff, which you're right, is really great for recruiting. And it's also great for that attraction visibility where people are like, oh, I see you guys on my social all the time. I love watching what you guys are doing. And that's really the goal. What I want to touch on is I think I remember you telling me that you guys were just you had your company and you were running your company, but you weren't being super intentional about okay, what what all could we actually do here? Like, how could this be our ticket to freedom? Like, what is the next level that we could go at? So tell me a little bit about like what that looked like and then what kind of decisions you had to make there.
Yeah, I think when we first started, it was like we were just desperate for work, right? So we were struggling, and at any time the phone rang, we would take literally any job that we could get. And then we started working with contractors and realtors, and that stress, it didn't go away, but it just got a little easier because all of a sudden we were getting more consistent work. When you go from freaking out to how are you going to pay your bills to how are you going to get by to having a little bit of that comfort that comes in and have a little bit, oh, we all of a sudden have a little bit of a cushion. Look, we have a couple of employees and they're busy and they're getting paychecks and we're getting paycheck. And like we got a little complacent and like too comfortable in that because I feel like we were struggling for the first couple of years. We were really struggling. Then when it was like we could take a little bit of an exhale, we stayed in that too long. And it was like, oh, we're good. But then we couldn't, the company couldn't move without Chris and I doing anything. I was the only one in the office. So I was the only one answering the phones. Chris was in the field we had 2 techs at the time. So Chris was like doing service and then we had our 2 techs doing installs. But if we wanted to take a vacation, that was not possible.
Yeah.
Or I was answering the phones. I remember we did a family vacation with Chris's family. I'm answering the phones in Mexico. Like,
Oh my gosh.
and it's just like, how do we go on vacation without having to having to answer phones? I just want to lay in a pool all day and not stress out that we're, so like we came back from kind of those trips going like the company can't run without us. That's not sustainable. What do we do? So then it was like we got out of our complacency a little bit. And I think it's more we just got to be a little comfortable. And so we got out of that and then was like, what's the next step? Okay. And then once we hit our ceiling with that step, what's the next step? So we've grown a little bit more conservatively throughout the years, but our goal is also to pass this down to our kids if they want it when we want to retire. And that is something that does take a little bit of time. It's not something you can just throw money at and just hope that it builds up enough so that you can just get to a place where you sell it. And we talked about that as well. Like, what if when we decide to retire, the kids are actually like, I don't want it. So we are trying to do both. We're trying to set it up as a legacy company. That is our end all goal. But also, we don't want to force it on them. And if they don't want it, is it ready to be sold if we need to? So you have to look at it from both angles. But I think for us, we really try to take a little bit more calculated steps with every growth because we also want it to be consistent. If we hire a person, we don't want to have to lay them off after summer. We want to make it so that we know they have a calendar all year long and there's consistency. So when it's time to expand to another service truck, or if it's time to expand to another install team, we know we have the work that then can consistently keep them employed because we also spend a ton of money and time on development and training. And we don't want to train and develop somebody we just have to let go once the summer rush is over. So we try to be very conscious with all of that.
I feel like you guys have a very realistic approach on your business. I had the pleasure of having Patrick Ling on my podcast. I actually interviewed him yesterday, so it will have probably been released last week by the time this episode is released. But what we talked a lot about is that whether or not you're like building a business to sell, which a lot of us like aren't right now, right? We're building a business because we like it, because it's kind of fun, because it's a way that we're supporting our family, because, like we have to have a job. So like, here's the job. This is like a job to do, whatever it is. But what if like something happens and you medically can't work for a year, or a family member gets really sick and you want to be able to take care of them, or somebody passes away, or like there's so many things that could happen, or you want to retire. You want your company to be able to run without you so that it has value, that somebody else would buy it. whether or not you want to sell it, you want your company to be viable. And that what you guys did by going on vacation and realizing like, gosh, this is not a company. This is like a job that I have was so good. Because if you can't go on vacation and leave the company alone, like then the company is not, it's not a business. It's literally just a job that you have that like Patrick kept calling it a well-paying job. For most of us, hopefully that's the case, but you want to build something that whether or not your kids want it, the company has value so that everything that you've worked for isn't just like, well, I guess we'll just turn off the lights. Like, no, sell it to somebody else, whether that's a private equity company or another owner or somebody who wants to acquire a business. There's so many ways that you can retire or move on, and making sure that your company can run on its own is such a big part of that.
Well, so it was the 4-week vacation. Chris and I were at your conference. There was like, can you take a 4-week vacation? And we both were sitting there and we just started laughing because it's still even to this day, like no shot. We can take vacations, but like we're still working the business and we still are very much entangled with it. And so it was just kind of like, even that thought process of like, oh, we'll take a 4-week vacation. As much as we're laughing, we also were kind of like, damn, like we as much as we feel like we've grown from where we were when we had 4 people, it still was like, we still aren't there yet. So I came back from San Antonio and literally wrote a list. Okay, if I were to get hit by a bus tomorrow, morbid as that is, but if I were able to get hit, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, what could the company run? No. And then why? And so I literally just started writing down all of the things that just I do, not even Chris, just what I do. It's on my desk. And it's like, they wouldn't even get paid. Nobody else knows how to do payroll.
Oh,
Nobody else knows how to do this. Like, so I just started writing them down. And then I just put a square around the ones that I think are the absolute most crucial, that if I were to get, and I'm a big Marvel fan, so I'm kind of a nerd, but I just joke of like, if we all blipped tomorrow, right? It's like Thanos snapped and I blipped off. How could the weather changers continue without me? And so I've just literally been trying to take that list of like the ones that I put the squares around. They're all important, but the really important ones. And I've just been trying to, how do I have a backup? Is there a process written down on paper that if something did happen, somebody could pull out my, like emergency binder and be able to keep something moving forward. So like, I've been really focusing on that because I think then that helps with growth. That helps with our staff in the office have more of a developmental. And if I did have to step away, or I wanted to shift my focus as the person that runs operations to growing the company or bringing on more jobs, I can't do that if my entire day is stuck in the day-to-day operations. You can manage it, but I'm still very much just doing them. So it's if you look at things from different lenses and different angles, it's just really cool for if you are growing. There's so much stuff out there to help you create a roadmap to grow in your own way, because there's no formula. There's not like if you do X, Y, and Z, you're going to grow. There's tidbits you can take from here, and then focus on where you want to be as a company and what you really want. And how can you make a plan with it? And I just don't think there's a timeline. I feel like a lot of people are like, if I want to grow, I have to grow by year 5. And by year 5, we were barely floating. So I just don't think it's as easy as people say. And I think that people get frustrated if it's not going as fast as they think it should. And I just think give yourself some grace with it all, because it's not easy to run a business. It's not easy to start a business. It's not easy to be competitive in a business if you don't have capital behind you or money behind you, especially if you aren't PE backed. Like, you have to do a lot of things that are different, but it's also a cool opportunity to test a market that people aren't testing. Like, there's PE companies that aren't doing anything but Google. Now you have an opportunity to do more social, or do, direct mail, or do trade shows, not a home show, because people are like a home show, but like maybe like little neighborhood ones, or you go to your kids' daycare and you set up a table that way, like being more in the community, where there are some companies that don't do that. There's just so many options out there. don't get stuck in, I have to do this because that's what somebody else told me that you have to do in order to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing I want to ask you is I can tell that you have a lot of intention around your growth. Like, what are the books that you've read or the mentors that you look up to, or do you guys invest in coaching or support as you guys are growing this business right now?
No, I mean, I'm a sucker for any kind of cheesy motivational book. Like, give it to me. I'll listen to it. I love a podcast. I believe in learning from other people. I don't know everything. I didn't, I don't have a college degree. This is my first business I've ever ran. So I know there's so much out there. I just started to recently get into like peer group stuff. That's been fun because again, it's not just tradespeople in my peer group that I have locally here. It's every industry. And so you get to learn just from other industries too. The sisterhood, I fell into that. And that has been amazing just to find people that are like-minded and want to, it's not a competition of who's a better company or who's this. There's such a genuineness in that group where you could ask the most probably weird and outlandish question and you're going to get somebody that answers it. And I didn't lean into that a ton. I tried to do that in certain ways, but I just had never really found like my people. And I feel like the sisterhood is definitely that. The support that I have from honestly strangers, really, I've met everybody. I have not met everybody in that group, but man, the way that those women like literally like cheerlead for me, and it's just kind of like it makes me blush a little bit because I'm just like, oh wow, well, I thank you. Like I've never even met you in person, and it's just so cool. Find your people.
I agree.
And if you're in a peer group or you're in a networking group and you don't like it or you don't feel fulfilled, leave and find another one. Because I wish I would have found this stuff sooner. And I'm also glad I found it when I did. I feel like a lot of things come into play when you need it the most. And it's truly like electrifying. Like I feel so fulfilled every time I like meet with you guys or we do a sisterhood retreat or again, even just that group. It's just such a positive, bright spot. And I'm so grateful it came into my life.
I so agree. I was just telling somebody else about the sisterhood, but if you're listening to this podcast, you're like, what are you talking about? If you search the sisterhood on Facebook, it's a Facebook group. It probably would pop up. It's actually was created by Catherine Howard. So if you find her on Facebook, you can definitely find it. I believe the group is open to the public now. There are events that she hosts. And then anytime there's like industry events or people are in different towns, we just try to get together anyways. But I agree, it is such an awesome, authentic group, but that's not at all. It's community over competition. And so I'm grateful. Yeah. I'm grateful for that too. Well, we're coming to the end here at the podcast. And at the end of the Kee to Growth podcast, we ask all of our guests the same question. So since you're on the Kee to Growth, that is the question. What is the key to growth?
Oh, wow. It's just believing in something bigger than yourself. If you want your company to be certain size or run certain trucks or have X amount of employees, I don't know, believe in yourself. And I think you can get it. I don't think there's anything that you can't accomplish if you put your mind to it, truly. I know that sounds, again, kind of cheesy, but it's just write it down, have a vision board, whatever, and adjust it quickly because it also is never going to go the way you think it's going to go. But have a endpoint and work backward. That's a really long answer. I'm sorry, but that's
no, it's great. I love it. So, what if people wanted to find you, connect with you, learn more about the Weather Changers? Where should they go?
So we have the Weather Changers. It's on Facebook and on Instagram, and then I kind of created. It's just called HVAC Sam, or I guess HVAC_Sam, where I'm just trying to host more industry stuff and then like being an owner and like seeing that side of it, just because I think it's the more advocacy we could put for the industry and show what the industry is, I think the more people will look to it as an opportunity for a career or future. So just trying to like throw out what it is to be a small business owner in the HVAC industry.
I love it. So good.
Oh, and LinkedIn too.
have-
I don't really do anything on LinkedIn. But I'm there. So
LinkedIn, Facebook, Finder, and all the social channels. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. You've really given us so many great little nuggets that I think everyone listening could take away and apply to their business. So I appreciate your time today.
yeah, thank you. This was so much fun.